What is good, Dark Knights? Your boy Zay, come back to another video. And in this video, we will be talking about why is Gen Z obsessed with vampires again? Before we get started into this video, doing this research in this video, it was kind of hard for me to find articles talking about this. So I'm trying to piece any information I can in this video. Please make sure that you hit that like, comment, and subscribe button for more great content. And with all that being said, let's get into the video. Now, Gen Z has always been into vampires. Well, specifically, Gen Z girls have been into vampires for a long time. And one question I've always had is, what is a vampire? Well, thanks to the internet, we can know. A vampire is a mythical creature that subsists by feeding on the vital essence of the living. In European folklore, vampires are undead creatures that often visited loved ones and caused mischief or deaths in the neighborhoods they inhabited while they were alive. Now, I could give a breakdown of the mythology of vampires, but it isn't relevant to the video, and others have already researched it and made a video about it. I'll link those videos in the description if you want to check them out. Now that we got that understand, let's talk about some movies. Well, a show. Now, one series that comes to mind that had teenage girls going insane was the series Twilight, a show that, I'm not gonna lie, if you were to have gone back into 2008, you would have seen how Edward had the girls dreaming over him and their relationship. This was a time where gossip pages and paparazzi were getting towards their peak in magazines, a time where the most relevant topic would be whether this actress and that actress would stay together. That stuff wasn't that serious as how things are now with drama pages. Shoot, drama pages don't even need to find drama anymore, because nowadays the people in the drama tell the internet everything. So pretty much they just gonna report off of what the person said. Now, what is Twilight? Well, the Twilight Saga is a series of romance fantasy films based on the book series Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I still butchered the name. Where a vampire named Edward, played by the actor Robert Pattinson, falls in love with a human named Bella, played by the actor Kristen Stewart, however you say it. Now, you may be thinking, why did they care about this? Well, to tell you the truth, most of the girls were really into romance movies back then. From what I understood is that it was like this Prince Charming sweeping you off the feet kind of feeling. And in my opinion, teenage girls wanted to be princesses all over again, but older. Times done changed now. Teenage girls don't want to be Disney princesses. They want to be that city girl. Princess treatment, fast money, fast lifestyle. And don't get it twisted either, guys, because guys have gone through a change as well. And you're going to see that later in the video. So stay tuned. Maybe not as much as girls in certain things, but drastically in others over time. It's very interesting as I sit and observe how culture has changed within just like really a decade. But another thing I noticed about why girls cared about it was that it related to them. It seemed to give them memories of their high school first talking to their crush. That sweet nervousness, heart pumping as you trying to muster up the courage of trying to even start a conversation with your boy crush. Probably having pictures of him on your wall, hoping one day he approaches you and tells you how much he loves you as he stares into your eyes with a smile. Or the time you had your first wedding as the crowd stares at you too. Both of you are anxious as you staring into each other's eyes, as you both make vows to each other being together. As the music plays in the background, you two dance slowly, just basking in the moment, enjoying each other's presence. Yeah, it was a real time for the real love of girls back then. Unfortunately, the dating game has changed. Being a lover girl is much harder now because, well, a lot of people don't want anything serious like they once used to. Both sides of the dating market are difficult. That's why I think the rise of discussions about issues on the guys and girls side is starting to become more polarizing. because both sides are seeing something wrong with each other and also don't understand each other. This causes more problems because both sides are blaming each other rather than trying to actually solve the problem. It's like looking at the Spider Man meme where they both just point at each other. You don't get anywhere. But also, Edward was very hunterish when he loved her. He didn't care about her seeing him at all as she walks away. Edward relentlessly pursued Bella like a hunter and she was prey. These days, that boy Edward would have gotten charged with some type of harassment. Yeah, he would have been done, bruh. But I guess that's what women found hot if the guy was good looking, most likely. I don't know. Now, another movie that comes to mind about why Gen Z is obsessed with vampires is the movie Blade. Now, it doesn't compare to probably the craze of Twilight, maybe, but don't get it twisted because this movie was revolutionary in the Marvel franchise with teenage boys, actually. Now, you're probably asking, what is Blade about? Blade is a comic book horror film about a guy named Blade, played by the famous actor and well beloved Wesley Snipes. He's half mortal, half immortal, who is out to avenge his mother's death and get rid of the world's vampires. The modern day technologically advanced vampires he's going after are in search of his special blood type needed to summon an evil god who plays a key role in their plan to execute the human race. With its dark, gritty, and moody nature, it almost feels as if it took inspiration for the feel of the Matrix movie, but it also feels like it later inspired the Batman movie's grittiness and moody nature. It almost feels like stepping into a gothic church. Now, I do want to tell you this. Horror is probably the most loved category movies to watch in Gen Z, besides action movies. Now, why guys love this is much different than why women's reason for Twilight. Guys fell in love with Blade because of his violent and gory nature, and let's admit it, Blade was very much a tough guy. He had this stoic kind of chill but cool and swaggy nature to him. But one thing I do notice about this kind of tough guy act is that it was a reflection of 90s hip hop music as well as the with like gangster rap like Wu-Tang, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, Eminem, and more. I find this particularly interesting because by understanding what I talked about earlier in this part of the video, you'll begin to see how it affected us later in 2023, now through music, fashion, and culture itself later in the video. Now, I do want to make a video I find pretty interesting, and that is that I think street hip hop might dive into the coming years, but I do think that punk rap and grunge might be a huge thing in the coming years again. Now, I'm going to give you a reason why I might think this as I sit and observe what this culture is possibly developing into. Now, I'm open to being wrong about this because it is my opinion on this part. So make sure you get the video to 10 likes and I'll begin to work on that video. But let's get back to the video. Now, a good question I've had about this is, well, why is it attractive to us? Here's what I think is so attractive to us as Gen Z. I think it is a reflection of how our society views and sees the world. I've never seen an entire generation in my life that has no purpose in life other than to live it up. This generation has the YOLO mindset, wanting a fast life, fast lifestyle. We almost seem to see the world as a doomed planet, but we're smiling along the way before we hit the grave. We seem to be more attracted to death and chaos, and it doesn't make it better because most Gen Z carries a nihilist mindset, simply being that a lot of people who are Gen Z don't believe there's a meaning to life. There's no afterlife. Don't believe me? Just ask anyone, what do they think is their purpose in life, or what is the purpose of life? Shoot, ask yourself that. I can guarantee you most will shrug their shoulders to indicate they don't know, or they'll say there is no meaning. We live and die. It almost feels like a doom and gloom when I observe how this generation acts. Not even to mention that there are more political confrontations and conflicts arising among Gen Z and older generations. Oh, and let's add the cherry on top. A lot of people in Gen Z suffer from mental health issues because of so much pressure we have to face now compared to the previous generations, which makes Gen Z go more into escapist hobbies like drugs and attach our identities into movies, shows, and music for the lack of identity in something, say like religion. And this is what I think the state of this generation currently is. And I think this is something interesting about how this generation is, how we are having some similarities to punk. Maybe not exactly, but it's something I guess I feel is going on. Again, I can't speak about it too much because I'll make a video on my thoughts on it. But give me your thoughts on this. What do y'all think about this? Do you think there could be a possibility of a new punk movement? Keep watching the video because it's going to get even deeper. Now, there is something that has occurred in recent years, being 2020. There is a certain someone who has brought this vampiric, dark, atmospheric feeling, and this certain person has popularized this dark aesthetic. He's a rapper named Playboi Carti.
Wake up, filthy.
Now, back in 2020, he dropped an album on Christmas, and this album was Whole Lotta Red, a punk-inspired album. Now, you all can debate whether it was punk or punk-inspired. I'm not here to discuss that right now. Put down your thoughts on that in the comments and debate about it with each other. But in the beginning, it was not well received at all. There were a few reasons. Why it wasn't received well. A, it took a very long time for this to drop. B, it wasn't what people were expecting, in my opinion. I believe it was something trending when it first came out on Twitter, and someone said, whole lot of trash. Now, everyone was somehow simultaneously thinking of the same jokes, which is funny to me. I'm not even going to say that I wasn't joking about it, because I was definitely saying whole lot of mid, whole lot of garbage. But a couple of years later, a storm was brewing. One day, Playboi Carti had a show at Lollapalooza, and the first song he played was Stop Breathing. And this song set the crowd on fire. I think there were two reasons why this went absolutely insane. First was that, remember that this was when lockdown started to go away. So people were no longer stuck in their houses, and they finally been able to leave the house and socialize with people. People who are like me, who aren't really social people, enjoyed the lockdown. I worked out, I did my classwork, and I didn't really have to speak to people unless it was on the computer. But another thing was that Playboi Carti's album started to really sink into people over time. I started to see the narrative started to slowly change on how people viewed Carti's album. In 2021 and 2022, I would say was the biggest Carti's album got with the whole rage sound. To say that it had a huge impact is very underrated. And it made an impact and a cult following worse when he started to bring this whole new opium wave and aesthetic, and people stole his style to the point where we literally coined the term Carti clone towards 2022 and 2023. That's how much his style has been copied and imitated from Whole Lotta Red and Opium. Even 3 years later, people still discuss how good Carti's album was. Now, as us guys find this type of aesthetic more attractive now because of its gritty, dark, atmospheric feeling, more realistic. Remember how I talked about how Gen Z is now more attracted to death? Even if it's not directly attracted to it, I say we're even attracted to the aesthetic of death and darkness. As guys, you face the temptations of the fast money, fast lifestyle, and gangster persona that a lot of guys try to portray, and also want to be perceived as cool by other women. Whether you like it or not, humans don't do things for themselves. We do things for others' interest in us. These things invite death into our lives. The boys have started finally catching up with the girls for the love of vampires, even to dress up like a vampire, but in a much more realistic way, as to where you don't look stupid. And with this, we will get into another thing, and that is dressing in vampcore. According to this article, vampcore is a dark aesthetic revolved around vampires, traditional gothic themes, and dark imagery. Common motifs include fangs, coffins, bats, roses, blood, and crosses, usually in black or deep red colors. Vampire clothing includes old-fashioned clothing, typically Victorian era inspired, or more gothic or vampiric fashion. Now, if you ask me, it reminds me of 2014 Tumblr aesthetic, but I think that it rose again in 2020 because of Cardi's vamp look. So, what are the characteristics of vampcore? Well, the vampcore look is, in my opinion, a more grungier look, but you can also turn it into a vamp more punk look too. Now, I'm going to give you a more generic ideas for the sake of the video. I'm not going to get deep into it, so keep that in mind. So, the characteristics of vampcore in a grungy way for girls are black Doc Martens, black dress or black corset with lace, black jeans or skirt or stockings or no stockings on the legs. Hair has to be kind of like disheveled, some type of funny shirt, and there you go, you're good. The characteristics of vampcore in a punk way for the guy, pretty much dressed like opium. I kind of feel like guys already understand where to look for the vamp look. Obviously, be unique with it. You don't want to be called a Cardi clone. But to give you a helping hand, in my opinion, dress like a rock star who's clinically depressed. For the women's version of the punk side, I think one it's pretty easy as well. Just dress like a rock star's girlfriend who's addicted to cigarettes. Now, I think some of the visuals are easier to give you a more clearer picture of what I'm saying. Vampcore is notorious for the nighttime pictures. If you're not taking a picture at nighttime in some type of atmospheric pic, then you're not really serving vampcore justice. Typically, if you're an opium fan, you'd be taking pictures near a church. I know most of you people don't care about God whatsoever or believe in him, but it's supposed to look cool for your picture and enhances your level of vamp. You gotta also do some kind of strange pose for the camera if you're a vamp on the punk side to show like your flexibility for the meat you most likely take. And for the grungy side of things, you want to take a picture where you take more quirkier pics to show how weird and cool you are. But you most likely are not going to repel people because you look ugly anyway. And you're not cool. I am so sorry for y'all, to be honest with you. At the end of this video, sorry, towards the end, I was kind of getting pissed off doing the script. You can probably tell when I started talking about the characteristics. This script took me an entire week to develop, plus an additional couple days of editing the video. Anyway, I do hope y'all enjoyed the video, as I am trying to improve the quality of my videos for y'all. So I do hope that y'all enjoy it. Don't forget to follow me on Insta as It's Too Hot on IG. And with all that being said, I love you, Dark Knights.
Baby, come and jump on it, up on it. Let's do it, ride it, bump on it in my saddle, baby. Come and jump on it.